All right, welcome back to Mind Your Marketing. Today we are talking about content calendars, everyone's favorite topic, really. Content calendars have been talked about at length on this platform. You can go and find a million YouTube videos where people are saying, post at this time, post this much, post about these things, and build out your calendar. I'm here to push back against that and talk about why the traditional way that people think about content calendars is shit and how social has changed. So now, posting more doesn't equal marketing. You actually have to think about, how do we post? What do we post? Should we repost? And is it going to be effective for my audience? Does it help build and strengthen my offer? Does it help build and strengthen my brand in the market? Or am I just posting to post, at a certain time because my scheduler told me to do so? Let's get into how content calendars can work for you, but it's really how a content system works for you more so than a calendar. And I want to start on traditional calendars and breaking down why they don't work. So content calendars, we go into businesses all the time. I see them and they'll say, great, we have our post quota, we have a posting schedule, and here's our marketing calendar for the next month. And here's the problem. They treat every post equally when not all posts are created equally. And a lot of times they take the same content and they just spray it across all the platforms. But people go to different parts of social media for different experiences. I click on Instagram stories for a different experience than my explore tab on TikTok, than when I go to Threads or if I go to LinkedIn. Your audience is looking for different pieces of content in those places as well. So we got to think about it. When we build out our content, right? If we establish that not all posts are created equal, we have to give these posts jobs. There are certain posts that are at the top of the funnel. These are your brand building pieces, right? Think short form video. And when you build your brand, you also engage and attract a new audience. This is great. Short form video does this. TikTok does this. Reels do this, largely because those platforms reward that content and send them to non-followers. So that's the only way you're going to grow without paid media in behind it, is you need to look at what types of content are actually being pushed by the platforms to non-followers. Okay, if we know those formats are being pushed, this is where we should do top of funnel content, stuff that can attract a bunch of people into our brand. Then we have content types like engaging and nurturing, educating, a little bit more in the weeds, right? These are for the people who have decided to follow you. They've engaged with content, so they're going to see your content pop up again in the feed. Can you give them something that's really interesting to them? Is it one of maybe the top 25 questions that they have regarding your industry? Can you get into the weeds? Can you give them that nugget, that information? That's going to be very valuable. Now that content, a how-to piece, it's not going to get a bunch of followers, but it is very useful for people who already follow you. So if we think about it, we have brand building, audience attraction, then we have content, which is really audience engagement, audience nurturing, and how-to. How-to pieces are great as well because social search is becoming more and more important. So people are typing in how to cook XYZ meal or how to build a content calendar on social. And then they're going to get served these pieces. So we want to make sure that we're there answering those questions that our customer might have. And then lastly, you need content that also converts and promotes your offer. And this can be done through paid social, or it can be, sprinkled into your stories. If you have sales, if you have things going on, you make sure you want to sprinkle that in. We got to make sure we look at these as their own parts of the funnel. And where do we match pieces of content to in the funnel? Okay, we have brand building up top. Then we have here, which is when our consumer is in consideration phase. Okay, do we answer a bunch of questions here? Awesome. And then at the very bottom, what offers do we have? What thing are we pushing? What can we get people to do? Is it a micro conversion? Hey, sign up for my webinar. Hey, join my email newsletter. Hey, reach out to me directly and I'll give you a free audit. What are we doing at the end, right? To squeeze people closer to a conversion. We got to think about this as we map our content. So what I would say is this: take it away from the calendar view, a content calendar, and think about it more like a content funnel. What questions and what types of topics at each part of the funnel can you start to fill in? I would start by auditing your current content. Go back over your last 20 posts and actually draw a funnel and see, where does your content currently fit in? You'll probably find out that you're over-indexing into one part of your funnel, either that brand building, audience attraction, nurturing how-to, or conversion. And what we want to do is actually split our messaging across these. A good mix might be 40% brand building, 40% audience nurturing, and 20% conversion-related messaging. Okay, great. Now we have a framework at which we can go out and actually put our posts in. Now here's the next part where people get lost. They always think that their calendar has to be full of new content. We have to put new stuff to fill in on this funnel. But here's the reality and what most people miss. Building your content funnel and content calendar is more about how you say the same thing 1,000 ways versus trying to say 1,000 things once, right? We want to figure out, how do we get our message across, our core beliefs, our problem solving ability? How do we do so over and over and over again in different ways, in different variations, in different media types? So our consumer can start to say, okay, when I need problem X solved, I go to you because you are the person who has shown me repeatedly repeatedly that you know how to solve that problem. And how I think about this in a content calendar, content production type of things is in your content production system. If you use the system we have below, it has this there, but go through, right? And we use Notion. And as we go through and we create our posts, I create what we call a greatest hits section. Now, the greatest hits is where you keep content and ideas that you're going to come back to over and over again. So if you're short on content, let's say, you're better off to go and use and play one of the greatest hits opposed to rushing a mediocre piece of content out the door. And you might think, oh, I'm reposting this. People are going to get tired of it. Look, the average person sees 1,500 pieces of content a day. They are not going to remember what you posted 3 months ago. Post that piece again, get it out there. And who knows, it might take off the second time you post it. Don't believe me? We had a client where a post, the first time we posted it, got 6,000 views. The second time we posted it, got 2.1 million views. There was no difference between the posts. That just shows you the power of timing luck when you know you got a piece of good content. So don't be afraid to repost. Now, as you go through and build this, I will say this, as you build out, you map out your content plan. It might help to color code. Color code your content, like we said when we did the audit. Let's color code our future content though, to make sure that we are hitting enough of our content types from top of funnel all the way down. Also, build out a content matrix. I want you to build a matrix in which here are the 4 or 5 themes you talk about and then how you talk about them. Okay, we're going to talk about, say you're a gym and you're going to talk about reducing calories is the way to lose weight. Okay, great. You can do this through a testimonial. Hey, I had our customer Johnny, he reduces calories, he lost weight. You can do this through a product review. Oh, hey, if you actually eat product A versus product B, you're going to reduce your calories. You can do this through a prediction. Hey, I predict that portion sizes are only going to get bigger in the United States. So to combat this, I always ask for half my meal to be packed away at restaurants. Now I'm able to reduce my calories. So we want to look at this idea of calorie reduction and then how do we say it? A million different ways. That is how you can go through and build your own content for your channel. To wrap this all up, right? Posting more, hitting quotas, that stuff is very, very 2010, 2011. Right now, it's all about, can you create the best piece of content? That content and those pieces will outperform relative to everything else on your feed. Can you match those pieces of content to parts of your content funnel? And this is because these platforms operate differently today. It's not about how many times you post. It's about the level, content quality, and entire ecosystem you have. That's really the key when we start to build out our social media. Because look, it's not about how much you post and hitting post quotas and pretty calendars anymore. It's about the types of content you post and how they match the user's experience on each app and where that fits. Some of these social media apps have built-in newsletter. Okay, are you writing newsletters, right? Do they promote short form video or long form video? Is it threads where there's a character count? All of these things matter as you create content, as you build out your greatest hits, and as you start to build your content ecosystem. And that's what we need to think about this as. It is your marketing ecosystem, not just a calendar where you're looking to fill out a post quota. That's it for this episode of Mind Your Marketing. I'm Jordan Sheldon. Please hit the like, share, subscribe. That helps us get this in front of more marketers. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Cheers.